Welcome to Back into the Future with Mark and Carol. Well, hello everyone. It's 2021.
Yeah, it is.
This is Back into the Future. This is us in the present. Mark, I'm Mark, and with me as always is my lovely wife, Carol. How are you doing, Carol?
Hey, what's up?
It's a good week here at the old homestead. Yeah, for those of you that obviously this is one of our Patreon exclusive episodes that we have over on Patreon. So thank you for being a Patreon subscriber and giving us that sweet cash so that you can listen to this.
Yes, if you are listening right now, that means that you showed us the money.
That's right. That's a 96 reference.
Hey, it's coming too.
Well, and so now I love the freedom of this show because we get to just make any reference we want to. Sometimes we'll be talking about things and I'll have to stop myself from saying something.
Or I'll say something and he thinks that I'm making an inappropriate reference and then he glares at me and then I get all flustered and then, editing has to occur.
Not an inappropriate reference, but an anachronistic reference.
Well, same thing.
So, no, inappropriate references are sexual, right? You make a lot of those.
I was going to say, that's what our show is.
So, like I said, for any of you who are new to our Patreon here, this is the show where we talk about a movie or TV show or something we've watched in the present.
Yeah.
We're no longer in 1996. We are in 2021 currently.
It is present day.
The second year of our great pandemic.
It's getting better.
Well, one of the things that's better is that the kids are back in school now.
Yes, in-person school. They're gone all day.
Yeah, it's nice. But I was helping our son with his homework. Listen to this. I was not prepared for this. He's doing capitalization homework.
Okay.
So it's names, dates, places, things like that, right? One of his sentences was, Tim's grandmother was born June 7th, 1970.
Wow.
You don't what are you doing, schools? You don't just put that out there. I'm not prepared for that. I'm not prepared for your sentence to be can you imagine the freaking little Gen Zers or whoever writing this thing? What's a decade grandparents were born in? I don't know, the 70s.
Well, I mean, that would mean they were, 51. Is that a grandparent age?
I guess, apparently now.
I mean, we could be grandparents when we're 51. I hope not. That seems a little soon. But
yeah, that's what it... So my oldest would be 20... Well,
actually, that's not soon.
25.
It would be perfect timing, actually. So, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but it does... But my ego wasn't ready for that.
You're not 51.
No, I know, but it's the same decade I was born in.
Barely. 1 month.
What do you mean, barely?
2 months. Yeah, 2 months of 1979 that you were alive. That's it. It does not count as living in the 70s.
I was born in the 70s. I was alive in the 70s.
You just want to make yourself older, which is fine because you act like a grandpa all the time anyway.
Well, speaking of getting older, Carol, that dovetails perfectly into the movie we watched.
Yeah.
So, some of these people wanted to be older, I guess.
I don't think so.
They were dying to get to that beach.
Oh, God. Come on now.
So, we watched M. Night Shyamalan's the old this beach got you aging. It wasn't really
old.
It wasn't really the beach though.
What was it? It was the beach.
It was the rocks.
Well, the rocks on the beach.
The rocks around. It's like, see these rocks? They're oldie rocks.
It's like magic or something. I still don't understand it. They explained it, but I still don't understand it.
Yeah, they explained it many times in many different ways with many different characters. There was a lot of, hey, should we show any? No, just tell everyone. Just tell.
Right.
Just tell the whole movie.
Yeah.
I mean, M. Night Shyamalan might as well have sat down in a leather-backed chair with the graphic novel that this is based on and been like, okay, so here's what's happening. And just explained the graphic novel to us.
I can't picture this as a graphic novel. The only thing in the whole movie that seemed like the graphic novel
is the 2 6-year-olds banging.
No. And gross.
It was horribly inappropriate.
Well, but they weren't 6 years old when they did it. They were like 16.
But they were 6 years old like 2 hours ago.
Right.
And, I know they did they really hand-waved it away with like, I don't feel like I'm 6 anymore. I feel like I want to fuck.
They were talking about how their thoughts were different because they have more colors than they did the day before.
Is that a description of how teenagers feel? Am I just so old that I don't remember what I felt like when I was like, I don't remember thinking like, oh, all these colors.
I think in purple now. Like,
right?
what?
I don't get it.
But I mean, I get why they were saying it. They were trying to, show that their minds were also aging and changing, like their bodies.
Right, so that it wasn't gross when the 2 6-year-olds banged and one got pregnant.
And
why does that happen? I don't care if it was in the graphic novel. They could have easily cut that out.
Yeah, it was disturbing.
It makes no impact on the plot whatsoever. Oh, you had a baby? Oh, it died.
Yeah, like immediately.
And like they said, oh, we didn't pay enough attention to it. It didn't die from lack of attention. Like babies don't live on attention. They're not Instagram models. Their life force is not measured in how many people are paying attention to them.
Right. No, that's its grandma, who was the very vain.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Lady. But no, I mean I'm sure that they meant that it was because it didn't feed. Because they set it down for 1 second and it died.
It would have had to have constantly been eating.
Yeah. And even then, I don't know. I mean, even if the baby was hooked up to something, I mean, it was aging so much faster than it should have.
It seems like maybe the accelerated aging was more, the younger you were, the more you did. Well,
that's just because the younger we are, the more our bodies change.
I guess that's true.
Like our kids eat a ton because they're growing.
I don't know. I feel like my body's changing every day because now, apparently, in 1970 as grandparents.
Oh yeah.
All right. So what did you think of? What did you think of old? These rocks got you getting old.
It was too much.
It was
it was overwhelming. Like there was just constantly stuff happening. And, like, we talked about it a little bit last night. Like you said, like, you didn't really have time to process anything. And a lot of it was, like, emotionally wrenching if you had time to consider it. Mm-hmm. But it was just this constant state of anxiety.
Yeah, like we were talking about last night, because we didn't know if we were going to do an episode on this or not, but we decided to. And so we kind of talked about it last night, too. So this is take 2. But... There were elements and thoughts that I kind of had, but nothing was given time to breathe.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's a part, spoilers, obviously, for old, by the way, too.
I think it's too late. We have spoiled it.
But there's a part where 2 of the characters that are married are sitting next to each other, and they're looking out at, like, the sunset or the darkness of the beach. It's like their whole life is passing them by, sitting there, and they're talking about loving each other. Their minds are going and everything. Like everything's kind of going on them. For a brief second, I thought this is kind of like a poignant meditation on getting older and slowly losing one another and things like that. And then it's but before that thought could even really fully form in my brain, it's like, he's dead. Oh, wait, now she's dead. Oh, now we're alone. And it's like, now we got to go on to the next thing. And the kids didn't seem that bothered. Like they were like, their parents died, and they were like, and they were like, hey, should we still try to get out of here? I guess so.
I mean, look at everything they went through.
No, I'm not saying that it's unrealistic for that at that point for the shock and everything to blind them. But not and blunt their pain and everything, but it's just like that doesn't resonate emotionally
Yeah.
with an audience, and that doesn't make an entertaining movie, really.
Yeah. I mean, I did cry a little because, like, I don't know, it was sad that they were dying next to each other on the beach and,
Right.
whatever, but
A dog died in this movie, and no one really cared. That's how little time there was to breathe in this. It's probably the least sad dog dying in a movie ever.
I don't remember the dog dying.
They just because this is because you blinked. Like they at one point that crazy doctor was like, "Dog's dead," and he was like, "Oh, it was just alive a second ago." It's like, no.
Oh, yeah, I remember that stupid line.
Yeah, because he's like, "It was just alive a second ago," and I was like, "Yeah, that's how everything dies.
Yeah.
Everything was alive, and then a second later is dead when it dies."
Right. Well, that makes sense that the dog died first, right?
Yeah, because dog ears.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they figure out somehow, I don't know how, but they figure out that a half an hour is about a year of life.
Well, they figured out, I think, based on how quickly the children were growing.
Yeah.
Like, they gained, 10 years and...
It had been whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so... I kind of liked the movie, but I kind of hated it at the same time. It's really weird.
I didn't enjoy it. I wouldn't say that I sat there feeling like, oh, wow, I'm really enjoying the experience of watching this movie. Like I said, it was like a bad panic attack, the whole movie. It was like I needed sleeping aids to go to sleep last night after watching this movie.
It's not a good movie at all. Mm-hmm. But I kind of liked it.
What did you like about it?
So, I like the premise, and then I liked the weirdness. M. Night Shyamalan was so, like we said, this is based on a graphic novel. I have not read the graphic novel, but I guarantee you M. Night Shyamalan was not the person that they should have gotten to write and direct this. I mean, God bless him. I like a lot of his movies, and then there are movies of his that are bad. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the bad ones. But there is something about the way he directs movies that is interesting to me and entertaining to watch. Has he ever gotten a natural performance out of any actor ever, except for maybe Haley Joel Osment in The Sixth Sense?
That's who I was thinking of when you said that too.
I mean, because that's a really good acting job.
Yeah.
And maybe that was just Haley Joel Osment.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. But, he's, I don't know. At this point, I have to think it's intentional. Because I've never seen him get... people in his movies. There are good actors in his movies. And it's so bad. I
don't know.
It's... The act... They feel like they're caricatures of 1950 B-movie actors.
What about Mel Gibson in Signs?
What about him?
You feel like he didn't do a good job?
I mean, he did a fine job, but, again, really established actor. Bruce Willis, same thing. Mm-hmm. Bruce Willis also, did his Bruce Willis thing. And he actually
It's Bruce Willis thing.
Well, so there's two Bruce Willis things. There's Bruce Willis I care, and there's Bruce Willis just I want this check. And that's that's the two Bruce Willis modes. And he actually seemed to care in the movies he did with M. Night Shyamalan. Mm-hmm. Sixth Sense and Unbreakable and Split, and at the very end
love
Split and Glass.
I still haven't seen Glass.
Yes, we did. We went and saw that in the movie theater.
Or Split, then. Which
yes,
one?
we did.
No. Look.
You haven't seen Glass?
We saw the first one together in the movie theater. You saw the sequel without me. I never saw the sequel.
Oh, well, we got to watch the sequel.
I think you watched it with Mike or something.
Yeah, we did it for a Mass Play Fee.
Yeah.
Anyway, but so often he does not, especially if they're not good actors, he does not get good performances out of them. He does not know how to direct actors. But he does know how to move the camera in very interesting ways. and he makes everything, even if it's just a normal thing, feel creepy. I don't know how he does. At one point, the kid's one of the best, and it's a very pretty movie to look at, too.
It is.
Everything's overexposed, and it's like, and I think that's on purpose. Like the sun's just a little too bright, and everything. But at one point, the kids are playing freeze tag, and the way he moves that camera up and down that beach as they're getting tagged, and then because each time they get tagged and they freeze, it's like they're fully in frame, and the other two are behind them, and it's the way the camera swoops and everything. It's so beautiful. But it's also so creepy.
It is. I didn't even know. Like, I couldn't figure out why I felt creeped out watching it, but I just did.
But yeah, he knows how to frame things, and how to put the camera, how the lighting and stuff, so that something as simple and innocent as them playing freeze tag is creepy. And of course, that's also freezing in place. Slowing, every time stopping and stuff like that. That's sort of a foreshadowing of what's going on. There's a lot of on-the-nose dialogue at the very beginning that I pointed out, where she's like, "Oh, I can't wait to hear your voice when you're older. Oh, but also put your electronics down. Let's live in the moment." And stuff. And it's, "Oh, you're probably too young to do this or do that or whatever."
Yeah, it was on the nose going into the movie, knowing what was coming and everything.
M. Night Shyamalan can't write dialogue. Not good dialogue. It's never good. And he can't direct actors. But man, this guy was born to be a cinematographer because of his use of lighting, his use of the camera. That's his oeuvre right there.
Yeah, that's true. I think most of his movies are pretty. Like even The Happening is creepy and pretty.
Probably one of the worst ones. I don't know if it's the worst one, but
I love that movie.
I know you do. She unironically loves it. I have no idea. Mark Wahlberg.
It speaks to me somehow.
Well, there's another thing, like the weird dialogue and the bad acting. When that old woman in The Happening is like, "What are you guys going to murder me in the middle of the night?" And he's like, "What? No." He's like, the way he says it, like, that's a horrible delivery, but it's also terrible dialogue. Like, what is that even supposed to mean? That movie is so weird.
See, I read that differently, though. To me, it just seems like he's completely caught off guard by the weird
And you think he's just
fear.
And you think he's just a bad actor?
Well, yeah.
Because it's bad.
It's Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, well, that's true. Fair point. But like I said, at this point, I almost have to feel like it's on purpose.
Maybe.
Like the dialogue and the acting is like M. Night Shyamalan comes on set and says, "Okay, so all the emotions that you feel as a person, like how all the emotions you would feel in this situation where you'd be scared, you wouldn't know what was happening, you'd be confused, you'd be desperate, panicked, you'd want to get out." Get rid of all of that. And think about what it would be like if you just had a lobotomy and you saw a rabbit for the first time.
Oh my God.
That's the emotion I want you to bring here. It's like, what is it doing? What is that? It's fluffy but sharp at the same time. Like that's the acting is just, and like I said, it's good actors, but
yeah, there was a lot going on to react to emotionally that they don't react to emotionally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the whole thing's weird. And then, of course, I don't know how long this graphic novel series is, or if it's just one big graphic novel, or how long it is, or whatever. But there's a lot of ideas in here, and because it's a very interesting premise. So M. Night Shyamalan's a high concept guy.
Right.
Takes a high concept and tries to bring it down to surface level, but doesn't always succeed. Unbreakable, high concept superhero stuff, street level, it's perfect. It's maybe a perfect movie, well, except for the ending. But it's a very good film. It's probably my favorite of his movies.
Yeah.
And so sometimes he does it, it's really successful. Sometimes he does it, and it's like, that didn't work at all. Because there's too much here. Like you said, everything feels so rushed. And I understand that that's part of the nature of what's going on, because they're getting old super fast. But we don't live in any of the moments. We're rushed through everything. And because of that, it's like, oh, okay, they got to figure out what's making them old, because the people watching the movie are going to want to know, what can we do? Have them find a notebook.
Right.
From somebody else way smarter than any of these people that was like, oh, I understand science and science fiction, and here's what's going on, guys.
And if I, realize that this is the last day I'm going to be alive, that, like, I'm running out of life so fast, I don't think I would be taking the time to, meticulously document everything that was going on around me like they did.
Yeah,
it seemed weird.
The whole thing seems weird, because it's like, okay, well, we're getting old real fast. What are we going to do? And it's like, let's build a sandcastle.
Yeah,
Let's do this.
Was weird.
I don't understand any of this. And apparently Sandcastle is the name of the
graphic novel.
Right. So, yeah, like I said, it's too much, too packed in. And none of it feels realistic at all.
And it's very, like, segmented. Like, it doesn't all flow together. Everybody's kind of going through their own individual thing. And they're more just, like, ping pong balls bouncing against each other rather than interacting. Like, there was this one character who's like on, whatever, TikTok, Instagram, whatever.
Oh, are you talking about Full Size Sedan?
No.
Oh, okay. Because that's the rapper.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the girl.
Yeah.
Who told her little 6-year-old daughter to sit straight because boys wouldn't like her if she was hunched over.
Don't you want to be hot? And then that's pretty on the nose too.
And it turns out though that she has some kind of disease that's gonna, like make her get hunched over.
A calcium deficiency.
Yeah. So as she not having her calcium and aging, it's disfiguring her, and she doesn't want anyone to look at her because she's getting older and wrinkly. And she goes and hides in a cave, and the kids just happen upon her, and she's like some kind of fucking spider monster because, like, she doesn't want them to see her, and she's like They keep like lighting a match, so you see her for a minute, and like she was trying to kill herself, I think.
I don't know what she was doing
because she had this big rock and she was holding it above her head, but she didn't drop it on her head. She just broke something, and then like she's just breaking bones and rolling around on the ground, and she just looked terrible.
And she became this, like, I think it was supposed to be scary, but it was funny. Like,
it really was.
The way she was just like...
It was horrifying.
It was like she was a transformer.
But in a funny way, because it was so uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was weird. And like I said, it just didn't hit as scary.
But I mean, like, okay, her husband killed somebody.
Yeah.
Her 6-year-old daughter grew up in front of her eyes, had sex, got pregnant, lost the baby, climbed up the side of a rock, fell off, and died.
She didn't see her die.
All this woman cares about is that she's not hot anymore.
Well, yeah. That's her character.
And she's just off on her own dealing with that. Like, I feel like that's a wasted opportunity.
Agreed. Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Like, that was a perfect point, what you were talking about. And a perfect illustration of what you're talking about. I hadn't really thought about it, while we were watching the movie, but you're totally right. These characters don't interact. There is no... You could go one of two ways. You could go, they come together, and they try to be better as a unit and work together and things like that, and then each loss is a horrible, hurtful tragedy, right? Or you could do it where they clash, and then, it's like a fight. We want to do this. No, we want to do this. And then there's strife, and show the nature of, like, how humanity is so divided and stuff like that, and explore that. But instead, they don't do either. Instead, it's just like, well, they're over here, and they're over here, and they're... How big is this beach?
Right?
Why is full-size Sedan just sitting by himself with his nose bleeding? It's, like, it makes no sense.
Yeah. It was, yeah.
And then the final thing about the... There's another line, too, by the way, where it's like, I guess maybe it's supposed to be kind of like a show that we started watching. What's that show with what's her name? She was married to Nicole Kidman.
Okay, yes.
What's that show with her?
9 Perfect Strangers?
Yeah, exactly.
Something like
9
that,
episodes of Perfect Strangers. About
Right.
Yeah, where they go to that island. It kind of reminds me a little of that. Although we don't know what the final thing is going on there because we've only watched like the first couple episodes.
Yeah.
But it reminds me a little of that, at least setup wise.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one line where the mom is like, and I guess it's supposed to be a hint to like, oh, they're sinister and they're searching for you or whatever. And she's like, oh, can you believe that I found this vacation online? And I'm like, yeah. Where would you have found it?
I know. I thought the same thing. Like, what?
It would have been a lot weirder if you were like, hey, can you believe that I went to my local grocery store and found a flyer with this vacation on it? Like, everyone finds vacations online.
Well, and, I mean, the actual story later was a lot more interesting because apparently it was on the receipt from the pharmacy.
Right.
Which is not online.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I mean, apparently it directed her online, I guess, but yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly. Because it turns out that that a pharmaceutical company discovered this island, which the guy that runs the place gives us the full exposition on. Mm-hmm. He's talking to his staff, who all presumably know this.
Right.
And it just is explaining, the discovery of this beach and all this stuff, and how they can get clinical trials done, a lifetime of clinical trials done in one day, and how that's going to help so many people. And it's like, is it supposed to be an ethical question that's brought up? Because it's not.
Right.
Because first of all, they don't just take the people that actually have the diseases; they also take their kids.
Yeah.
Like what they're doing is clearly evil. But even if they were like, they could have. First of all, it raises a ton of questions, and second of all, they could have made it interesting if they were like, they got confronted at one point, and the guy was like, "Look, yeah, you 5 people who have these terrible diseases, they should have all been fatal diseases too." Mm-hmm. Like you 5 people that have these terrible diseases, we had to separate you from your family, and we had to get you onto this beach. They could have easily done it with the parents, because they could have been like, "Why don't you come? Have a private time from your kids. Work on your marriage."
Yeah, especially because they're having all of them are having marriage problems.
Right. So like, do that, but they didn't. But anyway, like there could have been a point where he was like, "Yeah, you 5 people, we've done this 70 times, so it's like 35 people that we've put through this stuff, and they've died, but you guys all had incurable, fatal diseases, and now we have 3 cures that we got out of it, and millions of people are going to live." And then it could have been like some kind of moral question. At least, I mean, they'd still probably be the villains, but at least it's a little morally ambiguous. People could make an argument for one way, but instead they don't do that at all.
No,
and like I said, it raises so many questions of like, it's not like there's something about the beach that helps them understand how the drugs work,
right,
or it doesn't help them develop the drugs. They're already developing the drugs.
Yeah, I don't think it would really help.
I don't see how.
It's not a lifetime worth of clinical trial. It's one day you get to see the end results. That's it. Right.
Plus, like you said, that just sparked another thing in me. Plus, their cells are being manipulated. How is that a trial that you're going to be able to, replicate on human beings? You don't know. Mm-hmm. It's at most a guess. And then it's like they're like, "Oh, we got all the data, but we messed up the data on this one person or whatever." And it's like,
because they got murdered.
Yeah, and it's like, what data? What data are you collecting?
Well, they've got a camera pointed from a cliff, so...
Yeah, what does that do? They can't do any kind of physical examination of the bodies or anything like that. They can't look at cells. Mm-hmm. No one can go down to that beach.
No.
Or else they get stuck there and they're going to die.
Yeah. How do they get it cleaned up? They have the next set of guests coming.
Well, they mentioned that, like in a day, like, or whatever, in like 20 hours or something like that, you'll turn to dust.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that dog decomposed.
But what about the bones?
They just turn to dust.
The bones too? Wow.
Yeah. So, because they're exposed to the air, so they just turn to dust. But yeah, so I don't understand what kind of data they're getting. They saw that she didn't have a seizure for a long time. And it's like, okay, cool.
So that means their medicine works. She still had one. It killed her.
Yeah, and they're still developing the medicine. They could do this without murdering people.
Right.
It makes no sense at all. So, lots of logical inconsistencies. But the things I liked about it, it's different. It's not a sequel. It's not a remake. It's not a superhero movie. It's different.
Yeah.
Camera work, excellent. And because it's so ridiculous, it's kind of funny, for one. And two, it's interesting to talk about.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting to talk about. It's not boring. It wasn't a boring movie.
No, definitely not. For 1 minute was that movie boring.
So those are the things I like about it. Is it's not good, but Shyamalan makes movies that are not boring and they just some weird, bold choices. Really weird, bold choices.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'd like to take a look at the graphic novel and see what departures were made, what things weren't.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Like I said, if the two 6-year-olds bang in the thing in the graphic novel, that doesn't mean it has to happen here.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely interesting.
I guess. At least we didn't have to see it.
And I mean, only teenagers would be horny enough to have sex in these circumstances. So it's not like the parents could have done this, could have shown the baby issue.
Right.
So,
but I mean, I think we all would have understood the baby issue. At that point, we knew the rocks were making him old.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I love to... Oh, that's the other thing I want to know if it's in the graphic novel, because I'll bet you this is something Shyamalan came up with, because this is such a Shyamalan thing to do. The boy has a weird quirk where he asks everyone their names and occupations. Mm-hmm. It's like such a weird but very specific Shyamalan thing for a little kid to do.
I like it, though, because, I mean, it is a thing that a little kid would do.
I guess. It's weird, but...
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is like that's the whole movie. It's weird, but kind of interesting.
I didn't like, too, they said that they're doing mental health, medication with the physical health medication.
Do you need a lifetime of research to figure out mental health? Like, it seems to me it would be, you'd want to study them very closely, observe behavior and stuff like that much more than
the whole thing you'd want to observe more closely than they were. But I didn't like the representation of, apparently that was supposed to be paranoid schizophrenia.
Okay.
That the doctor had.
Right.
Not too many doctors have paranoid schizophrenia. Because, I'm sorry, not too many paranoid schizophrenics are going to become doctors. That's not normal. And he seemed like he had dementia, not schizophrenia.
Yeah, he kept forgetting the movie that Marlon Brando and who? Marlon Brando and somebody did together?
Yeah. Who was it? Oh, Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, that's right. Marlon Brando and I forgot to look it up. But I can do it now.
I mean, he was definitely paranoid and delusional, but it just seemed like an odd choice that this is a surgeon, and now all of a sudden we're going to see what he's like without his psych meds, I guess.
Right.
But it's just very unrealistic.
The Missouri Breaks. That's the movie that they did together. 1976, The Missouri Breaks. It doesn't seem to have any relevance to the movie. Just a weird thing for him to not be able to remember. But yeah, like you said, I don't like the depiction of it either. And so paranoid schizophrenia, that's something that usually occurs when you're in your 20s, right?
Well, usually sets in, that's when you start seeing the symptoms.
That's what I mean, yeah. So yes, it seems like it would be very difficult for someone to have that and become a doctor.
Yeah.
And that guy wasn't young. That guy was like in his late 40s, maybe 50s.
Yeah.
That guy was a grandpa. Or would have been. Actually, I guess he had a 6-year-old daughter, but that's a late in life baby.
Yeah, with the Instagram model.
Yeah, that he married. I wonder if that's his first wife, second wife,
fourth wife, whatever.
Right. Oh, yeah, she seemed like she was hitting on the waiter too, didn't she? Like, I didn't think she was married.
I don't know. I don't remember that.
Also, I find it hard to believe that this conspiracy has this many people involved in it and not one of them ever broke.
Right? Yeah, there was at least 50 people working this place.
Yeah, it seems weird that not a single one of them would have either slipped up or just been like, hey, it's fucked up that we keep killing kids, right? Like, maybe we should do something about that.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth seeing, for sure. It's just a lot to deal with.
You know, the other thing, too, she stabs him with that knife that's got rust on it, which is clever.
Yeah.
But earlier, she had surgery where everyone on the island was sticking their dirty fingers in her wound.
Right?
And it's like, you didn't get an infection then?
Good point.
Like, what the fuck? So they could pull out a football-sized, purple tumor or something.
Yeah, because she had a tumor when she got there, and it grew like they aged. That seems unrealistic, too.
Do tumors just grow in, forever? Unless they're taken out? I don't know.
Think so.
I have no idea.
I mean, I have a tiny, tiny tumor, and I don't think it's growing.
Oh, let's not go to that beach.
Right?
We're taking a vacation, but not to the beach that makes you old.
Oh, that's creepy.
So, yeah, that was... I mean, it's $20 to stream. I think it's worth it. I mean, it's close. But I don't regret paying $20 to stream it.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely an experience, and I guess it was an experience worth having.
Well, that is our episode, you good little Patreon subscribers. Now, on these episodes, I get so excited because we get to plug everything. On the regular show, on the regular feed, we can't plug hardly anything.
Yeah.
But I usually have Carol do this, but when we do this show, I like to pitch in a little bit because it's so much. But you can follow us on Twitter at retro_late fee.
You can follow me on Twitter.
That's right.
Twitter.
On Tritter. On John Tritter.
At retro, is it underscore? Retro
Yes.
underscore Carol?
Yes. You can, let's see, what else? So you can, we have a Facebook group that
Yes.
you can go to. You can find
Massive Late Fee on Facebook, right?
That's right. Yeah, look up Massive Late Fee. So Massive Late Fee was the show that originally I started doing with Mike, and then this was going to be like a Patreon exclusive for that show.
Right.
That's why it's Retro Late Fee, but it's now basically the main show. But anyway, you can find us if you search Massive Late Fee on there. We're also on Instagram, Retro Late Fee on Instagram, retrolatefee.com, obviously, our websites where you can find merchandise, you can find stuff there. We're probably going to have a contest coming up soon, so you guys can check that out.
I have a Pinterest board devoted to our podcast.
Right.
So if you go to our website, there's a link to it. I don't know how to get to it.
But yeah, we'd love to hear from you on any of the places. And like I said, Patreon. Obviously, you guys are already on Patreon, but patreon.com/retrolatefee. And check out some of our other shows. We do this show, Back into the Future, where it's the modern day. We do Lost in Time, where we just pick a random year.
We did 1980.
Yeah, we pick a random year, random dates. I want to go back to the 50s at one point.
That would be fun.
Do the North Atlantic accent, but yeah, we pick a day, we pick a time, and we do the show as if it's in that time. So it's still Massive Late Fee, but it's in those time periods. We do the mixtape too, where we review music from the 90s.
Yeah, we need to do more mixtapes.
So, check out those shows, and thank you so much for being subscribers, and until next time, have a great day. Bye.
Bye.